I remember like before, like a while back, I remember you told me that you actually did a little work in like Hollywood and stuff. How was that?
Yeah, it was great. Since I grew up in a small town, I just wanted to get out of here. As soon as I got to high school, well, as soon as I got out of high school, I was like, okay, I want to be in the movies. But one of the things I wanted to escape was that too. But once I finally got to Hollywood, I was like, okay, I'm here. How do I get into all the work? Because there's work everywhere, but there isn't like somebody out like with a job application. So I just did a bunch of research and I found out the easiest way was background work. It's pretty simple to get into background work. You just have to go to like major companies that specialize in that, specifically Central Casting. They're probably the biggest and the most reputable one.
Okay.
And that last part is really important because anytime you work for Central Casting, usually they take care of you. Um, you get fed on time, you get breaks, and they don't go over like 12 or 16 hours. Sometimes they do, but they'll usually let you know. But on other sets where it's like they pay less or you don't find out that you're not getting fed until the day of, and then that's
Oh,
not very well. But yeah, I was doing that. And when I landed my first one, it was basically I signed up and then you have to call. This was like how things are back in the day. It's not usually how it is now. You'd have to call a line and then they would give you all the parts that they need to fill, like eight, 18 to look 18 to look younger. That's usually what they use for somebody that's like playing high school
okay.
or college. And then if they have like other ones, it's 20 to 30 or 40 to 50. But there was a ton of 18 to look younger, so I was getting booked pretty regularly. But that first one was pretty crazy walking on the Paramount lot,
Oh wow.
and it's
You
just
actually
like
walked on
wow,
Paramount.
yeah. But unfortunately, they just you get to Paramount and you're like, okay, find the lot, find the stage, and like there's no guide or anything, and you just in this huge lot, and you have to look for the spot. I mean, you have to have time ahead, or else you could be late. And it's a mission. There'd be times where I'd almost be running late, but on this one, I was very fortunate where it was in a big area. It was a set of over 300 people, and we were just shooting for I think it was School of Rock, some kids show on Nickelodeon. But
Oh,
we
okay.
were there 16 hours and I was not prepared for 16 hours. Like nobody gave me a
16
heads
hours.
up. And we were outside in the cold, phone died, everything. That's the thing that I didn't realize about Hollywood is like how much they work. Like a 16 day is like pretty common. It's rare if it's like an 8 hour day or a 12-hour day.
Oh wow.
But after that first one, I kind of got the hang of it and then started booking more and more. Um, that last like calling in that lasted about like 1 or 2 years, and now after COVID and everything, they just send out text messages asking if you're available, and then you just say that you are, but that doesn't mean you haven't that you booked it yet until you get a call back. And sometimes it could be late at night, sometimes it could be in the morning. They have rush calls. That's
Okay.
basically where somebody cancels and they need you to rush over right away. And they don't
Oh
pay you
wow.
any extra for rushing over, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm surprising. So wait, you
Yeah,
said you were in School of Rock on
yeah,
Nickelodeon.
yeah.
So, so if we were to scroll through like the episodes, we would see you on.
This one, not so much because it's kind of I was in like the group and like in you're playing like the crowd in a concert. Like those are like
Oh,
typically the
okay.
harder ones. But the first one where I appeared was probably on my block, season one, and
Oh,
that was in Pasadena. That was a pretty crazy shoot day.
oh wow.
Like none of us knew like how popular it was gonna be. We were all just suffering because of the heat. It was like 115 degrees in Pasadena, and we're filming on this bleachers. And they have a shade, and they had this like I had like two ladies next to me, like right here. The one on the right passes out, and this other one
What?
has to be carried by the paramedics. And I'm just like I'm fine. I'm sweating, but I'm fine. And it just shows like they you got to be ready. and expect the worst. And if the best happens, then you're lucky. Because I've also been on good sets. Uh,
Okay.
that one was pretty fun after it cooled down a bit. Um, but once I came out on TV, I was like, okay, I think this is it. I made it from this point on. And you end up getting booked on better sets. Probably, I'm trying to think of the best one that I was booked on, or the most fun one. The ones that I got shown a lot on TV, those typically weren't the funnest. Usually the ones that are fun are like whenever I did a Target commercial. And this was booked through someone that's similar to Central Casting. They had background gigs for TV, movies, and commercials, and this happened to be a commercial for Target. I got booked 3 days, and I wasn't in the shot once. They moved me. They're
Oh,
like, "Oh, we're gonna put you over here. You know what? Let's move you over there. You know what? Let's move over here. You know what? Just step off real quick." And then they never put me back on. And I got paid those 3 days just to sit in holding, which is like the lounging area, and they have free food, free snacks, especially because it was on the lot. Typically, the ones that are on the lot, those are the best ones because they have more resources. If you're on location, those are typically the worst. They're because the studio they paid for the permits, they paid for the land to use, and they're going to use it as much as they can and spend the least amount on anything else, anything and everything else.
okay. So would you say have you actually so you've done like commercials, but you've also done like TV shows as well. But
Yeah,
would you say that was any of that like in LA by any chance or no?
yeah. They're all throughout. That's one of the unfortunate things is that they're studios and they're shooting everywhere. So sometimes I'll have something down the street where I was staying at Northridge, or sometimes I would have to go to Hollywood, which is probably the worst ones because that's where the traffic is terrible.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then I've had ones where they're like 2 or 3 hours away, but it's still technically in LA, like City of Industry or Ontario, kind of getting towards like the San Bernardino area.
Oh, okay.
And you just start putting tons of miles and miles on your car. But it's typically all in the area. One time I did get paid. This is okay. This is probably the funnest one that funnest gig that I was on. This for the show Goliath on Amazon Prime. They were looking for a bunch of Mexicans to go yeah, to go with them to Santa Ynez, kind of like wine country, because we were
Okay.
shooting a quinceañera scene in in a vineyard that was supposed to be like a cartel's vineyard, you know.
Yeah.
So they paid for us to travel to Santa Ynez. They paid for our hotel the first night, and then we had to wake up at 5 in the morning, and it was like freezing in that area. So we had to get ready and everything, and then film. And then towards the end of the shot, well, towards the end of the day, we were filming, like we are having a good time, and they had like prop champagne and everything. But the director didn't like that we were pretending to drink. And he was like, actually pop the bottles and drink it and
Oh.
pretend like you're having a good time. And I
Oh.
was 17 at the time. Yeah, so the waitresses would come by and give me some, and I'd be drinking. We would all be tipsy, having a good time. And then towards the end, if they're getting like a close up or it's a shot that's on location but somewhere else, then the rest of the background could like chill, um, socialize, and then just get take in the landscape. And it was pretty well. Like the vineyard was beautiful, and it was a we got paid for 3 days, even though it was like 2 days, and it was easy. Like it's probably one of the most funnest ones. I met people on that set that I'm still friends with today.
Oh well, it's good. Seems like it was the whole like thing was a an adventure for you.
Yeah. Because when you first go out there, you have no idea how it's gonna go. People that live out there, they kind of have an idea of how everything is,
Yeah.
but you, I kind of set myself up to be like disappointed because I was like, oh, I made it, I'm here. But then you could be this close to it, but if you're not actually in it, if you're not actually getting the speaking roles, then you could start to feel like an outsider, and that's what I started to feel towards the end of of my time in LA. was like you're right there. You could see the director, you could hear him, you could hear him giving notes to the actors, and you're just like, man, how do I get there? And that's
to
the other part of Hollywood, the hard part, auditioning.
get the
And
spotlight, right?
yeah, like going into an audition and you see like 10 other guys that look like you, and you're like, oh man, you got to stand out.
Right. Did you ever
You
consider?
don't really see much, but when you're on a set, like even a small set could have like 50 people on crew and like another 20 background, and everybody's working around you, the principal actor. So if you mess up, you say a word that you weren't supposed to, or you don't go to the right marks, everybody has to restart. So you
Oh,
feel the pressure. So when you see
yeah,
someone excel, you're like, that guy, that guy's a professional. Seriously.
yeah.
It's something that I definitely recommend to everybody to do it at least once. Um, you don't have to be living in LA to do it. You just sign up through Central Casting, and they'll be letting you know of opportunities. And if the opportunity is worth it, I recommend making the drive.
Okay.
And
It's
that's something
interesting.
I did after. Actually, I would commute to LA, but it just became harder and harder to do it. But the time that I spent being on set, like I learned so much.